Hi, I'm Bob Lovell, the host of Network Indiana's Indiana Sports Talk, and it's my honor to talk about the 2017 4A state champion East Central Trojan football team. You know, they have a storied history in football. They won the championship in 1994, played in the championship game in 2015, and it's an important part of the fabric of the communities in that part of the state. This video is about that historic run to the championship in 2017, overcoming obstacles, living up to expectations, involving a community, and some tremendous plays and efforts by coaches, players, and communities. And speaking of community, you cannot win championships without great community involvement. And it's a unique situation with East Central High School. The communities of Sunman, and Bright, and of St. Leon come together to support this group in ways many communities wish they could too.
Week in, week out, just the support that the community brings, whether it's after a scrimmage, after a week 5 game in the middle of the season, we come in from a game and Mr. Deddens has Skyline in there waiting for us while we're breaking down film. It's having coached at other places, the community involvement here compared to different schools around the tri-state area. It's not like I'm been doing this for 40 years or anything, but I can't imagine anywhere being more supportive of their school and their team.
We have a very strong community, and our teammates, we all click very well, and we click with the community, and everyone's very proud of us. Everyone takes great pride in how well we've performed and how well we work as a team, and we're all just very close.
Everybody's involved. They support our kids. They support our team, our school very well. We're in kind of a strange community. The largest employer in our school district is the school district. You know, we're a blue-collar farming community.
The way that people live in St. Leon and Sunman and Bright, it's just different. The values, work ethic is just different. And making good decisions and playing hard and being humble, they do that, a lot of it naturally. So our kids in the games like that, in the situations, they're always really good to thank their offensive line. You know, our quarterback, Alex Maxwell, is thanking his offensive line. Nathan Lloyd the game is over, he's giving credit to the defensive line and the linebackers. I don't have to, that's not a robotic response. The kids just, that's ingrained from mom and dad. So it's the beauty of winning a state championship with kids like that, because they just play hard.
The state championship this year was, just as big as it was in 93 and 94. But I think it was bigger because it brought the whole community together. From Bright to, Southeast Indiana, everybody was behind them.
It's an amazing feeling when the community rallies around you, rallies around a sport, especially your sport, football.
The community's response was amazing. Getting gas, just stopping at any gas station, people come in and shake your hand, talk to you. If you just have a shirt at any restaurant, they come and talk to you about your experience. And when they played, sometimes you meet people on the 94 team, and we just talk about the experiences that you had. And
the championship game for me, being at Lummi Central, was awesome. The community was great. We sold tickets for Donnie, for the community, and the 2,000 tickets we sold out by Friday, like 4 o'clock. We sold like 700 tickets at Skyline. The school sold them, everybody around town, Bright, St. Leon. But people were calling like crazy Friday night and Saturday, and they were gonna get tickets or come up, support the guys. It was awesome.
The community, they just welcomed us with open arms. This is a big deal for them, just like it was for us.
Now, obviously, I'm biased. I'm a former coach, and I understand how important coaching can be. And Coach Justin Roden is that guy who pulled everything together. It wasn't an easy beginning for him. He did not have a winning season in his first year here, but the tradition that had been established by Coach Don Stonefield and others, he quickly put everything back together and began this run to tournament success, especially with that 2015 team. And some lessons were learned from that team, but truly this team, this 2017 team, is a product and a result of the great dedication, determination, and hard work of Coach Justin Roden.
I was actually here before Coach Roden arrived, and he came in not from the East Central community, but he fit right in. He should be given the credit for where our program has been the last couple of years. He had a rough first year.
My first year here, we were 4-7. It was the first losing season in 20-something years. The first game when we played Rushville, my first head game as head coach, we're up 21-0. In the second quarter, I'm like, this is easy. And then we got beat. We blew a 21-point lead in that first game. And I'm thinking, holy moly, they're going to fire me after the first game.
And then we've bounced back with winning seasons ever since he's been here, and 3 trips to the Final Four. And that's all credit to him and his preparation and his motivation with the kids.
When you talk about looking at a season with your teams and trying to control expectations, sometimes that's hard to manage. And there were a number of people who felt like this team could have success, but not necessarily sure could win a state championship. And that was one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest challenges facing this group, is to believe that they in fact had the capability mentally, physically, and spiritually to be a state championship team.
I knew we had a lot of guys coming back, a lot of guys with talent. We had to replace a couple key guys on our offensive line, but being so close to the previous 2 years to the state championship, the expectations were really high, and we just wanted to win it this year.
I mean, I kept looking at our team and seeing we're not in places where we need to be, and then through the season, it started getting more and more. I saw that we could do it. And about playoff time, I was fully confident in our team.
At the beginning of the season, we did have some empty holes at our O-line and our DBs. So he told us that we needed to, as a senior group, we needed to mentor those young kids and get them ready for the season ahead.
I can tell you early in the season I was nervous. Our secondary, we replaced the entire group. And then as the season got rolling, we were mixing and matching different people back there, playing about as many combinations as we could to find the group that would work. And then once we got into the playoffs, some young guys started gaining some experience and then really hit the ground running.
You talk about reloading. I knew that we had some young, talented players, but I didn't quite think that they would progress to a level that would be able to win a state championship. I felt confident we could win our sectional. I just knew in the beginning it would be rough. I almost anticipating losing to Lawrenceburg, because I felt like Lawrenceburg was as talented as they've been in a long time. I mean, one of the best, most talented Lawrenceburg teams, and going back to some of their great runs years ago. Harrison had a fantastic quarterback this year. I knew they would be good. And then LaSalle is LaSalle. So I knew early on we would take some lumps with that offensive line in the secondary. And when we came through that 1 and 2, there were some positive things that led me to believe that we could be okay. But I still don't, I'll be honest with you, even up through the Chittard game, I didn't feel confident that we could win it all. I knew that we could cause some headaches for some teams, but I think finding out the revelation that we weren't going to go to Evansville really kind of got the motors running for us a little bit, and we made a few changes that position-wise that made us think, okay, well maybe we can get there, and not until we started watching that film a lull that, hey, well, wait, we can win this thing a little bit.
Certainly, most of us believe that strong senior leadership is an important ingredient to championship teams, and nowhere was that more significant or more apparent when you look at this senior class of East Central High School, a group that pulled this team together, made great plays, and gave the leadership that provided this team the direction they needed to believe that they could in fact be state champions.
All of us together as seniors, we all got together during middle school, but through Pee Wee, we played each other on different teams, Bright, Sunman, North Dearborn. So we've known each other since we were first, second grade, but playing together in middle school.
Our seniors this year were fantastic. We had a lot of great leaders. They were all great hard workers. They knew how to play the sport. I can't say enough about them. They were just fantastic kids, and we're really gonna miss them next year.
Senior class, they were good role models. They had discipline, had everything they need as a senior class to get us where we needed, and it was a good people to look up to and show us what we need to do my next year.
They may have not been starters, they may have not even played, but we had guys that really wanted to succeed. So even if they weren't playing, they were pushing guys that were starting, and they were helping us to get better.
Obviously, during championship seasons, there are some particular games that will stand out when you look back at how the team had its success. Game number 1 with Lawrenceburg, most of these young men and their coaches will point to as being one of the most important ball games of the season, in a sense that it gave them that belief that they could in fact achieve great things. They also learned some great lessons in a loss to Harrison from Ohio, losing and winning, lessons that they learned on their road to the championship.
Lawrenceburg's a great team. They played us tough, and we were lucky to come out of there with a win with a young team who really hadn't had much experience playing in games like that.
It definitely showed us what we had coming into the season. From an offensive standpoint, we were kind of unsure at how our young offensive line would respond to that type of environment, and that experience definitely helped us later on in the season.
It really foreshadowed how we were going to play the rest of the year. It showed us that we were going to be a come-from-behind team and that we have always going to work hard throughout the entire game.
If we didn't beat Lawrenceburg, we would have started out 0-3, and that just getting momentum going after that would have been really rough. But with starting out with a hard-fought win and something to build on from that, it was huge for team morale.
They battled adversity all year long. Our first game against Lawrenceburg, our offensive line struggled. But as the year progressed, they got better. They got better every week. And that's a testimony to the offensive side of the ball, Coach Maxwell, Coach Belmer, and the job that they've done with the offensive line and the offensive group as a whole. Then, especially after the Harrison game, which was a hard game for us. That is a big rivalry. And after losing to Harrison, there were some questions in my mind. Where's this season going to take us?
I think losing that game really helped us out, really kind of focused us a little bit more. We were up by 21 going into the fourth quarter. To give up those 3 touchdowns and let them take that away from us, we didn't want to let that happen again. So every game from then on out, we just put our all into it, and we weren't going to let anyone take anything away from us.
Even when we would win a game, we could win big, we could only give up 7 points, we could have shut a team out. Every week we'd find 1 or 2 things to improve upon, and they took to it. They never got complacent or thought they were big time. They just kept 1 or 2 things every week. Let's focus on this, let's get better at that. And then by the end of the year, we were playing really great defense.
Tournaments are hard to win, as we all know, and that first game is the hardest. That was against Edgewood. You'll hear from Coach Roden and his team and his assistants on how important that game was. And also, one of the other game changers, if you will, one of the most important games of this entire season, absent the Lowell championship game, was a big win, a huge win over Evansville Central.
The first half of Edgewood, we, as a staff, were going to throw the ball. We threw 22 passes in that first game. Our mission was to throw the ball, to put that on film so that when people got a copy of that, they saw us throwing the football. And we turned the ball over twice, I think the first 2 possessions. And I think at the end of the first quarter, it was 7-0 Edgewood. And thinking, oh my God, we're terrible. Like I'm gonna get beat first round by Edgewood. And we had a couple coaches that were like, just breathe, relax. And we end up, I think, scoring another 40-something points and end up blowing them out. But we had a plan, and I was nervous about the plan. The South Dearborn game, when we played them in the regular season, we shut them out. I think we beat them 34-0, and we played terrible. The newspaper here made a quote about me being unhappy, and it made me seem like this Scrooge, bah humbug guy, and how do you win by 34 points? And I was angry. I was angry and frustrated. I'm like, we're just not very good. So getting an opportunity to play them a second time was really good for us, because it kind of showed how far we had come in those 5 weeks. And it was pouring down rain. Like, it was, I think they might even mention, hey, do you want to replay the game tomorrow on Saturday? I said, absolutely not. We're going to play. I don't care. Unless the good Lord comes down and starts throwing lightning bolts, we're playing in this game. And we beat the dogs out of them. Our kids were out in the rain and they loved it. And I think we went running clock in the second half. And we just played a really good game.
Oh, it was amazing playing at home all throughout the tournament. Having the home field advantage, having the grass underneath our feet, having the wet mud underneath our feet, and the crowd behind us, it was amazing. It was a big advantage for those teams that hadn't been playing on grass all year. They'd be playing on turf.
You can't assume anything, but our kids, I expected to just beat Silver Creek. We ended up winning, I think, 24-0, and it was one of those games when you just kind of wanted to get it over with, isn't the right word, but I think our kids just expected to win, and let's play the big one the following week. So we kind of went through the motions, and we played really good football on defense, but we're still, the motor's not 100% rolling on offense at the moment, and then that leads to, Evansville Central.
Going into the Evansville Central game, I was on edge. Like, I was bouncing back and forth, but when it's game time came, I saw them, I felt the field, the slippery, muddy mess, and I knew we could do it.
A lot of people at the beginning of the season thought we weren't going to have the year that we were having. And then we go up against number 1, Central, supposed to beat us, and they come down here and we give them all we have. We play the way we play, and we beat them.
Evansville Central, they had unbelievable athletes. They were bigger than us. They were stronger than us. We knew going in that it was going to be an extremely difficult game.
We had put together a game plan for Evansville Central going back even before the season started. I had gathered film on them in the summer. I had notes, and I had a plan ready for that team before we knew it was that team. Part of me was kind of just each week rooting for them to win, because we had done so much work to play them.
Getting off to a fast start against Central was key. When going into the game, everybody was on edge. We prepared like no other. Our scouting report was about 40 pages thick. We knew everything that they were going to do, and it was just about being able to execute, and our offense getting out on the field and basically taking up the entire first quarter and driving down and scoring. Was huge. I think we only played 7 plays of defense in the first half.
So after that game, you beat a team that most people in the state expected to either win the state championship or to be in the state championship. Now it sets it up like, okay, well, who's next?
I know personally what I was worried about during semi-state was after we beat Central, the whole community, it was like we won the Super Bowl already. This is a semi-state game. They're a very talented team. We need to make sure we're up for them. We don't want to have a letdown and not have the opportunity to play for a state championship.
I think Greenwood was a physical team. They were a little bit reminiscent to us, which played into our style. They didn't spread the field out and do some of the things that felt like were going to hurt us. A team that this year, to beat us, you had to go four wide receivers, and you needed to sit back there and throw it. And the teams that kept playing us, I don't know if because they look over there and they see that we're 5'11", we're 160 pounds, we're going to run the ball. So they tried to out-muscle us, which, again, as a coach, I'm like, fantastic. If you think that's how you're going to be successful, you're not.
Winning championships are not easy, but if you think back to this, and we mentioned it earlier, in 2015, the C Central team went to the state championship game and lost a tough one. Many of these young men, many of these coaches were a part of that effort and learned some tremendous lessons along the way as that helped them get prepared for the biggest game of the year in the championship game with Lowell.
Being there 2 years ago was huge. It felt totally different going this time. 2 years ago, we walked in and we were in a whole different world. Lucas Oil just looked totally different from the field, and we just looked around. Even on game time, we still were amazed by it. But this year, we knew how to do it and what to do, and we took care of business.
You could tell that our kids and our staff, it wasn't new. It was, we had a plan. This is when we're going to warm up. This is when we're going to dress. This is where we're going to walk out. It was very smooth, very organized. The bright lights weren't too bright. It was almost like a home game because of the experience in 2015.
What made this group so special was they were young a couple years ago when we made it to the state tournament. They learned from that. This was a group that when you look at them physically, you're not going to be impressed. There's not a D1 athlete in the group, but their determination, their willingness to stand behind each other made them a special group.
Going to that game a couple years ago,